who's actually going to get the most out of a 27-inch OLED gaming panel, and who's better off putting their money elsewhere? If you're the type of buyer who worries about buying a monitor that looks amazing on paper but turns out to be a daily hassle, you're probably wondering if this ASUS ROG Strix XG27AQWMG justifies its price tag for an everyday gaming setup. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first saw this monitor, the headline OLED claim grabbed my attention. OLED promises perfect blacks, instant pixel response, and a level of contrast you usually only see on high-end TVs. That sounds great for fast-paced shooters or the latest RPGs that push for cinematic lighting, but the reality of putting a TV-class panel on a desk is a bit more nuanced. The first thing I thought about was the kind of space you actually have. A 27-inch screen with a 3840x2160 resolution can dominate a typical desk, and you'll need a decent amount of arm room to step back enough to appreciate the detail without straining your eyes. If your desk is already cramped, you might end up constantly adjusting your chair just to see the whole picture. The next concern most people have is the price. OLED panels are still premium, and this model lands in the upper mid-range for gaming monitors. It's not cheap, and the average rating on Amazon sits at 3.8 out of 5 from 106 reviewers. That suggests a decent level of satisfaction, but also hints that a notable chunk of owners ran into some issues. In practice, the value you get depends heavily on how you plan to use it. If you're a competitive player who lives for high frame rates and needs every millisecond of response time, the OLED's pixel-level speed can feel like a real advantage over a typical IPS panel. On the other hand, if you mainly stream YouTube videos or do occasional weekend gaming, you might be paying for a level of visual fidelity you'll never fully exploit. Let's talk about daily usability. Plug the monitor into a standard PC build with a modern GPU, and you'll notice the colors pop immediately. Dark scenes in a stealth shooter reveal details you'd normally miss on a standard LCD, and HDR content really shines. The panel also supports variable refresh rates, which means you get a smoother experience when your GPU can't consistently hit the top frame rate. That's a practical win for anyone who runs games at mixed performance levels. However, the OLED technology brings a hidden trade-off: the risk of burn-in. If you leave static UI elements like a health bar or a minimap on the screen for prolonged periods, the pixels can start to retain a ghost image. ASUS does include pixel shift and screensaver features, but you still have to be disciplined about rotating content or using dark themes to mitigate that risk. Another real-world factor is the monitor's ergonomics. The stand is sturdy enough for a desk, but it only offers tilt adjustment, no height or swivel. If you're used to a fully articulating arm or need to share the screen with someone across the room, you might find the limited movement a bit frustrating. The ports are decent, a mix of HDMI 2.1 and DisplayPort, so you can hook up a console and a PC simultaneously, but you'll need to reach for the back of the unit to switch inputs. That's fine for a dedicated gaming rig, but if you frequently switch between work and play, you'll end up juggling cables more often than you'd like. Now, who should actually consider this monitor? If you're a serious gamer who values deep blacks for horror titles, wants the fastest possible pixel response for competitive shooters, and you already own a GPU that can push high frame rates at 4K, this OLED panel will feel like a natural extension of your rig. It also makes sense for content creators who edit video or do color-critical work. The wide color gamut and accurate gradients can save time on color grading. For these users, the premium price translates directly into a tangible benefit, whether it's spotting an enemy in a shadowed hallway or nailing a perfect skin tone in a video. Who should walk away? If your gaming sessions are mostly casual, you're happy with 1080p or 1440p, or you have a tight budget, you'll probably find a good IPS panel that offers respectable colors and a higher refresh rate for less money. The same goes for people who use their monitor for long stretches of office work. The risk of burn-in, combined with the limited ergonomic adjustments, can become an annoyance over months of spreadsheet scrolling. And if you're prone to leaving game HUDs on screen for hours on end, the OLED's strengths might quickly become its Achilles heel. One practical strength that often gets overlooked is the monitor's ability to handle mixed media without noticeable lag. I ran a side-by-side test with a console and a PC, swapping between a fast-paced shooter and a Netflix HDR movie. The OLED maintained consistent latency, and the HDR movie displayed deeper shadows without